The chair was a product of the most advanced technology known to mankind. It was an amalgamation of various concepts from the world's leading scientists. It had been developed under the auspices of the Council, which was made up of the world's foremost scientists. It was a product of the Council's desire to solve humanity's most pressing problems. One of its primary purposes was to allow people to use their hands while they were sitting. Most chairs at the time could only be used for eating, and that was all they could do. The new invention was created so that it was possible to use your hands while sitting. It was made so that people could use their hands to type on computers, drive cars, or any number of other things. In order to do this, it was necessary to create a way for the user to transmit the electrical signals from their brain to their hands. This meant that a conductor was necessary. It was also necessary to have a way to transfer the information to a machine. This would require a medium for the electrical signals to pass through. A mechanical keyboard, for example, would not be sufficient. A keyboard had to be able to respond quickly enough to send signals to the computer, but it also had to be durable enough to survive extended use. It was also necessary for the chair to be able to understand the instructions being sent, as well as translate them into actions. In other words, it had to have a program that interpreted what the user intended to do. All of this was accomplished by using a brain-to-hand communication system and an interpreter program. The system consisted of a seat for the user and a bed that resembled the human body. It had many different parts that corresponded to various parts of the human body. The seat was the head, the armrests were the arms, the legs were the footrests, and the bed was the lower body. The seat and bed were connected to each other via transmission cord. The armrests and footrests were connected to each other via cords as well. This cord was long enough that the armrests could be positioned in front of the chair's user's hands and still reach the bed. It was possible for the user to have a conversation with someone across from them in a similar manner. The cords would have to be long enough that the person sitting opposite them could easily see what they were saying. The transmission cord passed through the leg part of the chair. In order to keep the cord from getting caught in the legs, there were small openings on either end. The leg part itself was designed so that it would bend in such a way that it would allow the transmission cord to pass through. The leg part also acted as the armrest's frame, so when it bent, the armrests would follow suit. There were small hinges at the middle of the armrests that allowed them to bend in unison with the leg part. These hinges were what gave the chair its appearance. It was designed so that it would be able to respond to the user's commands as needed. The bed part of the chair had a small frame around its edge. Inside the frame, there were multiple small rollers lined up horizontally. They were spaced far enough apart that a wire could fit between them. The wire itself was made up of many separate pieces of metal woven together like a basket weave. It was then covered with an insulating material that was strong enough to withstand pressure while also being flexible enough to move freely. Inside the wire, there was a conductor that would generate the electrical signal sent from the user's brain. The bed part of the chair also had a large cushion attached to the bottom, so it would not damage the user's thighs if they rested against it while typing on the keyboard. The frame of the armrests contained many small gears lined up vertically. These gears were what gave the armrests their shape. They were able to turn freely when the armrests were bent. When they were released, they would reset and return to their original position. The frame also had many small springs connected to it, which allowed the armrests to be used in various ways. The interpreter program had 4 different parts: the input buffer, the command interpreter, the output buffer, and the display. The input buffer would store incoming instructions, which would be processed by the command interpreter and sent to the output buffer where they could be displayed. If there was nothing to display, it would be sent to the displayed anyway. It was possible to communicate with another user using this program, though it was more difficult than simply talking normally. This new invention was dubbed the chair because it resembled an actual chair. This was because it used a chair as its basis. It was much more comfortable and convenient than any of the existing chairs. The chair was available in different colors. There were red ones, blue ones, yellow ones, and so on. There were also several different models for specific purposes, such as a chair that resembled a sofa or one that looked like a bed. These chairs had many other functions besides just moving one's hands or using the computer. They also served as living spaces, sofas, beds, and even pools. They could be used for anything one would ever want to do in a single room. They could even be used as spaceships. The world was now filled with many more people who could use their hands while working. There were even some who had the ability to use their mouths and tongues, and these people were especially popular with children, as they could play with them without worrying about hurting them.